Want to acknowledge the folks in the chat right quick. Once again, 7th anniversary of this channel being here. 105,000 people have subscribed to this channel, which is a wild number. Wild number. You know that's a wild number? I don't do television. I don't do radio. I do this. You know what I'm saying? You know, there are other shows, they get publicized here and there. You know, that you got to you do a podcast in addition to doing TV. You know, you do a podcast in addition to doing national radio. This is just us. This is us on the tube, right? Making it happen. And I am always going to be grateful for that. That's so awesome, you know? And it's showing up, you know what I mean? It's showing up. Like programs that normally wouldn't even come to hear me talk, they're hear me talk about, everyone will hear me talk about Oklahoma for obvious reasons. But like Arkansas folks, you know, they make a big part of this. Texas folks make up a big part of this. Ohio State folks make a big part of this, man. And on and on. Anytime I get to talk about a new college football program because they've broken through to the national conversation, I'm always grateful because those folks tend to give me a hard look and say, what is this national guy doing talking about my team? And I say, hey, dog, I'm here because y'all are good. I'm doing this with Syracuse right now. You know, I rank Syracuse in the top 25 in our last one because I think Syracuse is a good football team, and I think that they got a road here to be great. And one of the reasons is Kyle McCord turns out to be pretty damn good. He went for 350 plus against Ohio, 380 plus against Georgia Tech, and an upset against Georgia Tech, who was ranked at the time. So Syracuse fans are feeling themselves. On the one hand, I'm glad for Syracuse fans. On the other hand, I don't like pumping up another J school because J schools tend not to know how to act when their football team is good. You know, they want to go for it from all angles, and they want to talk about who is talking about Oronde Gadsden and who is not. I need the J school folks to sit down somewhere and let the football folks at Syracuse do some talking, okay? If you ain't coming to me with Jim Brown first, I don't want to hear nothing you got to say. If you coming to me with Syracuse is a great journalism school, get out of my face. Get out of my face. Same thing I do with Northwestern. Get out of my face. Missouri, get out of my face. I don't want to hear none of that. I want to hear somebody from back in the woods in New York who has made the Orangemen their team. That's what I want to hear. And that's what this show is for. This show is for the folks that stop during their lunch break to pull up a segment and watch it. I am always floored by that. That is so cool. Like, if people tell me in the comments or they see me out in the wild, they'd be like, yo, dog, real talk, I be loading up on the segment so I can watch them while I'm at work because I work the graveyard shift. Or I be loading up on the segments because I am hauling freight from one end of this country to the other. You know, if you work for a living, you are who this show is for. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't do no shows for no CEOs. We don't do no shows for no business people. You know, we get it how we live down here. You know what I'm saying? We get up out the mud to go to work. We got to make sure people got pants on to go to school in the morning. We got to know who the light bill's getting paid to and why. And like, one of the things I always tell about college football coaches as we get into who is a threat to Ohio State, I put it this way. If you are not a great college football coach, and by great, I mean you are not winning championships every other year, you need to get fired. You need to get fired. You need to get fired. You know why? Because you ain't got but one job. You got one job. One. Usually, a coach's wife, she got 12 jobs. You know, everybody else got 12 jobs. You got one job. Your job is to coach football. You ain't got to worry about what clothes you wearing. You ain't got to worry about who paying the mortgage. You ain't got to worry about what time drop-off is. You ain't got to worry about what time school lets out. You ain't got to worry about cheerleading practice. You ain't got to worry about volleyball practice. You ain't got to worry about guitar lessons. You ain't got to worry about none of that. All you got to do is coach football. And I'm here to tell you, you got one job. You better be the best damn person in the world at that job because there's too many of us out here doing 85 jobs just to get by. You know what I'm saying? We out here like a Talib Kweli song out here just to get by. I don't want to hear nothing from no millionaire coaches talking about it's hard to coach. Get up out my face, dog. Get up out my face. If you don't want to do it, hell, I do it. You know, I got a phrase here in the state of Oklahoma. There are 3 million head coaches of OU football, but only one's getting paid to do it, okay? And if you ain't got that on your chest, every time you walk out the door, every time somebody puts a microphone in front of your face, you in the wrong profession. You in the wrong job. I need you to be quiet. Sit down somewhere. No, we work for a living out here. I'm going to tell you what. Ohio State fans be working for a living. Ohio State understands what that program means to the community out there, dog. Look, the way I put it is, I talked to Cardell Jones, who's doing games for CBS Sports Network now, which is very cool. Shout out to Cardell. Because he's running the collective, the foundation for them, one of two enormous collectives for Ohio State, where they're bringing in these donors' money to try to get everybody pulling in the right direction so they can pay players to get on the squad. And I said, how did you get everybody pulling in the same direction? And one of the first things he said was, losing to Michigan is just untenable. You believe it or not, we got more people that are donating because we can't live this way. We cannot live in a world where we are just losing year after year after year to Michigan. So we're going to get Ryan Day everything he says he needs, and we're going to hold him to account. The other thing he told me that I thought was fascinating is Ohio State football brings in $1 billion in economic impact per game, per home game. That sounds a lot like the economy is built around Ohio State football. And if that sounds far-fetched, you haven't been paying attention to college football long enough. Okay? Another story to kind of backbone this one. Jimbo Fisher was offensive coordinator at LSU. Nick Saban had just got the job and was trying to turn things around at Alabama. Jimbo Fisher interviewed for the job at University of Alabama, Birmingham, otherwise known as UAB, and they wanted to offer him the job. Athletic director went and said, Jimbo, I like you. I want you to take this job. Jimbo said, cool. Then you have to do this thing that is usually perfunctory, right? It's just kind of a seal of approval where you send this amendment, as it were, this recommendation to the Board of Regents that run the University of Alabama system, right? Like the system for the University of Alabama, and UAB is part of that system. But when it got there, they denied Jimbo Fisher the opportunity to be head coach at UAB. And when this came down, everybody's like, why? It's a great football coach who wants to turn UAB into a winner. And the pushback was, we cannot allow someone to show up and compete directly with Nick Saban at Alabama. And the thought was, because the economy in the state of Alabama is built around Alabama-Tide football, we got to make sure that this person gets the best opportunity to go succeed, because that's the best opportunity to make money. UAB winning football games is not going to make nobody no money. The Tide is the golden goose, okay? So when I tell you that you build your entire economy in many parts around your football program, it's true. Hell, I got fired from my first full-time job because there weren't enough subscriptions because OU happened to suck one year. You know, it ebbs and it flows. Cottage industries are built around these things. Makes all the sense in the world to me. It does. So, who is the threat to Ohio State? Well, in the Big Ten, I don't see one. Not right now. Not yet. Have they played anyone? No. But USC is the only team playing to their ranking right now, and they don't play them this year. Oregon's getting bullied by the entire state of Idaho. Penn State tried to put the money in the bag to Bowling Green. Michigan looks like returning to the Brady Hoke era of huffing, puffing, and then blowing out a whistle fart. Illinois has the only other ranked win outside of SC in the conference with the defeat of Kansas last week, and that was defensive-oriented. Quiet as it's kept, Illinois got a takeaway defense. They got 7 takeaways the first 2 games, and Jalen Daniels was throwing them the ball like he was on their team. That game was rough if you are a Kansas fan, because you should have won that game by 3 touchdowns, except Jalen kept throwing the ball to the other team. Injuries come, but Ohio State is so deep that if the normal amount of rash of injuries hits them, they're still got dudes. Like, they go 9 deep at wide receiver. It's ridiculous. It's their focus, that I want to watch late in the year. It's when they get past, they played Akron, they play Western Michigan, they'll play this week or Marshall next week. I'm curious to find out just what their focus is in November, because that's when the screws get turned to Ohio State. Because in November, last year they had to play Penn State, Michigan, right? This year, and I've been saying this from the jump, they got a 2-game season. They're not allowed to lose any other games, but they got a 2-game season. Their 2-game season is Oregon and Michigan. They beat those two. They're going to play in the conference championship game. They'll have an opportunity to secure that automatic bid and get an opportunity to try to earn their way to January 20th and win the national championship. And it is one of those programs, one of, I would say, 3 programs, honestly, for which if they do not win a national championship, it's a bust. It's a busted season. It doesn't matter. It won't mean a damn thing to Ohio State fans. If they win the Big Ten title, they beat Michigan, and they lose the national championship. They'll feel better about beating Michigan, but not so good as to say that it is a successful season. They believe the bar is beating Michigan. You ask an Ohio State fan, they think they should never, ever, 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 ever lose to Michigan. So losing to Michigan 3 times in a row, that's untenable. That's untenable. Now, we can talk about the stealing, and we can, if they went into your pockets and they stole W's from you, you would be as upset as Ohio State fans are, and there are a lot of people that play Michigan that are. So we're going to keep talking about stealing. And we're going to stop calling it the other thing because this is what it is stealing. You know what I'm saying? We don't like stealing. Hell, in some cultures, they take your hand for stealing. Here, you can't prove nothing. That's not the same as saying you didn't do it, dog. You just saying it. I didn't do it. Okay. All right. So outside of those 2 games, I think Ohio State's going to handle their business. I think that Ohio State has an opportunity to show it is a better football team than Texas, but it won't be in the regular season. Like, after Texas got this win against what was a top 10 Michigan team that we ranked inside the top 10 because it won the national championship last year. But if I had my druthers, we wouldn't have done that, right? They'd have been a top 25 team, and they had an opportunity to stay in there. But now the AP's got them at 17. I got them at 15. They lose another game, they're probably going to get dropped. So, they'll play against Arkansas State this week. And then if they don't beat SC, I don't expect them to be in the top 25 for the rest of the season. I just don't see it happening, unless some other things go well for them. Besides, they got a quarterback situation they ain't figured out. Kind of was putting on that. But it is also, again, about the depth that Ohio State has. Because if Will Howard were to go down at quarterback, it's not going to be like, one, shall we say, Kyle McCord choosing to transfer where you got to start Devin Brown. He goes down, you ain't got nothing else. And even with Devin Brown, people were like, I don't know, feels like kind of suspect. A, the boy had a hard time, holding on to football. And B, quarterbacks wearing 33 just don't feel right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how do I put this? It's like seeing your cousin show up in 2024 with a Jerry curl. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be like, hey, dog, did you know it's not 1986? Nah, but I thought this was a look. No, it's not, but I'm going to bring it back. No, you're not going to bring back a wet Jerry curl. You're not going to do that. You don't have that power. You don't have that power. You know what I'm saying? I want to say that power died with Prince. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm thinking of all the dudes in my life that could show up with a Jerry curl where I'd be like, you know what? That's fresh. Ain't none. Ain't none. You know what I'm saying? So you wear 33 on your chest, you playing quarterback, you're inviting me to look at you differently. And not in a way that I think you like. Okay? Just putting that out there. It's like seeing a white girl with the side pony. It's just kind of, I don't think you can do that. And you know why I don't think you can do that? Because it's 1986 and you're not Molly Ringwald. Like, you're not Leah Thompson out here. You can't make that one work for me. Maybe for somebody's out there and their kink is seeing the quarterback wear 33, but I don't know too many college football fans that want to see their quarterback wearing 33. That said, they got dudes. They got Julian Sand behind him, who everybody thinks is going to be a star. And I think Aaron Nolan has the highest ceiling of any of those guys in that quarterback room, but for whatever reason, he ain't been able to put it together.